Peace, family. 19 Keys tapping in with you. Stop it. Peace, 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 peace. Peace to the family, peace to the gods. Wait a minute, damn Uber to hurry the hell up. So listen, stop building the following. What do I mean by that? I'm working on something right now, but I want to get to this. Every day I see people come on this app and they're working to build a following. The problem with that is that we can probably all agree, right, that where social media is going, right, and where it is, we have less control over it than ever before. We are in a constant fight every single day. You understand me? We're in a constant fight every single day to try to reach followers. Thank you. Yeah. Rising to you, Chief. But this is dangerous because as I see people are trying to build following, you understand me? What they really want is they want a community. And more than that, you really want to build out a club. You understand me? I even see a lot of leaders that are trying to build right now, and they are struggling because they don't know how to keep consistent with their own clubs and their own movements that they're creating. And the reason that they're struggling is because the thing that they're building is no longer connected to who they are. It's connected to them being able to make money. And I think that the future of leadership, the future of creators, you understand me, is number one, becoming a leader itself, right? Almost like a tribal leader, almost like a club leader, almost like a world leader, right? To where it's built around not just the ability to make money, but it's built around your philosophy and your ideas. And so when I see people focusing on building a following only to get access to 1% of their following daily, only to go fight on an algorithm, it's a complete waste of thought. First of all, the algorithm has shifted away from followers particularly, right? And it's shifted more so to, interest, to try to keep people engaged, right? So a person that you hate will show up in your feed sometime more than a person that you love, because you might engage because you disagree with that person even if you don't follow them. So therefore, they don't need you to be a follower, right? They need to be in your consciousness, right? So whether you're against them or whether you're for them, and now social media is working with hyper engagement because what you're following are now your interests. And so we're just used to clicking a button follow as if we're curating our interests, but the algorithm is curating our engagement and what they believe that we're interested in. And what people are getting inundated with and people are getting tired of, right, is coming on social media and feeling like people are selling them something, coming on social media and seeing ideas that they don't want to see, feeling the uneasiness of being on social media. So what I see every single day is people trying to build a following and teaching people how to build a following, and that doesn't even matter anymore. And so I feel like people are being, it's like going to college and paying for an education, but that education being outdated by the time you graduate. This is what I'm saying, right? And what people are preaching now is what I've been doing: build a world, build a brand, build a community, right? Operate more than one space. You understand me? Be polymathic in your thinking. This is outdated thinking. This is old. I realized that almost 10 years ago, reading articles about artificial intelligence and where the algorithms were going to go and how they're going to curate interest of things that are connected to your profile versus finding new discoveries, and how it's going to be harder for individuals that have brands and that have business to be seen in an algorithm, especially when the AI and you are just utilizing voice to say, hey, find me a new hat to wear today. And it's going to find things that are already in your algorithm based on your profile, based on your interests. It's not going to find some completely brand new brand. You're going to say, yo, I want to buy some water. And you're just going to say that as a voice command, and it's going to deliver water. But what kind of water? Well, they might know that you don't like alkaline water. They're going to know you used to get in Mountain Valley, right? So they're going to deliver Mountain Valley to your door automatically. Now, you are a new brand. You understand me? How the hell do you show up in somebody's suggestion, right, if you are not already have a built-in community that you are servicing? So it's better to build a community, service that community, than build a brand and try to get in that community. You get what I'm saying? The reverse has happened. And so this is where a lot of people are missing, and this is where, you know, you can learn a lot, and this is where you want to focus. If you're building a brand, focus on building out a philosophy and focus on connecting people to that philosophy, right? I'll give you an example. Supermind. So let me give y'all the breakdown where Supermind comes from. Supermind really is for engaging an intellectual society, right? There was a time that people would read more. There was a time that people would go to coffee shops. And this was for the deep, rich intellectual, right? That person that was interested in philosophy and poetry and people that would read print and magazines, right? And so the coffee is a ritual itself, because when coffee enters spaces, it did what? It would cause revolution, right? Why? Because people were thinking for longer hours. So, excuse me, in a day and age where people are tired of going online and seeing rage bait, right? The Supermind brand itself is a representation of a community that is connected through shared values of intellect, right? Of enlightenment, of community, of reading books, you understand me? Of thinking, of philosophy itself, right? It is cognitive rituals. So therefore, I build a community, right, of people that are interested in those things. We got a Supermind book club coming, right? Where it's all about developing higher consciousness. So now, the coffee is just connected to the community that I'm servicing. You understand me? Instead of me saying that, how do I get Supermind a following? There's already a group of people who exist out there that are interested in those things. And all I'm doing is building the community for them to come into, right? And then we have products in connection to that allow me to build that world. And so the problem that we're dealing with right now as well is that we don't own these platforms, and these platforms are now built in a dynamic way that allow us to really curate our communities. So we end up having to jump to many platforms. Some people on Substack, some people on Discord, some people on Circle, right? Some people on YouTube, some people on Patreon, right? It's everywhere. And so instead of looking for a following, what you're looking for really is, where do I host my community? So that becomes your source of truth. I got that from my brother Ryan Leslie, who's going to be in New York with me. And he's a really smart, intelligent, bright individual, because he had actually understood this years ago when he created his application called Superphone. He worked with Nipsey Hussle that allowed him to be able to connect directly to his fan base, to speak to them, communicate. You understand me? And so finding your source of truth is really the key nowadays. It's not about building a following here, there, and there. It's about building a community and people wanting access to that community, especially on the outside, right? So what we're doing is, like, again, we're now focusing on building digital countries, building digital nations, right? And as we build a digital nation, what does that look like, right? It's a space where people are able to come together, and it has all the things a nation has. So it's bound together by a common thesis, a philosophy, right? Our own constitution. This nation has resonance. The people in it are like-minded, and they're focusing on building things, right? What are we doing? We're coming together, and there's an economy inside of that, and you're able to track your economy. The problem with current social media is you can't track impact, you can't track your economy. So everywhere I go, where I travel, what do I get? I get people telling me, Keys, you changed my life. Keys, you made me a millionaire. Keys, you understand me? I lost weight. I lost 100 pounds because of you. Keys, you raised my consciousness. Keys, I just got out of jail. You understand me? And you got me through it. And now I got me a skill set. And now I'm investing. I'm hearing all of these things. But how do you track that? How do you track that? See, a president, they're always tracking job numbers, economy growth, you understand me? The things that they're doing while they're in office. But as a creator and as a leader, there's no way to track those metrics of impact that you're having on people's lives. And so people will bag you and say, oh, you're an influencer. People will just throw you in a group of people, and you could be completely different. You could have changed 1 million lives, meaning that you have a real impact that could be greater than Nelson Mandela on this planet Earth. But who knows? Because to them, you're just making a show. To them, you're just online. You get what I'm saying? So this is why I believe that social media is outdated, because there's a complexity of impact that is now, being produced on these platforms that are not being measured. Like, I don't know how many businesses that I helped start. I don't know how many millionaires I made, right? I don't know how many people that I helped advance in their health, their spirituality, and their finances, right? I can't tell you that because the platform don't have those metrics. There's no reports. So we get reports of how many followers we got, how much engagement, how many impressions. Those things don't matter. What about impact reports? That's the platform that we're building that allow you to have those impact reports, so you would know what you're actually doing. And so therefore, you're actually trying to optimize to increase those things, not just more engagement, more impressions, more comments. Because what does that really mean? You understand me? Like, somebody can come on here and be a racist and they can get your comment and your engagement. You can repost something that they say because you completely hated them. It does not mean that they actually had a good impact. It means that they had engagement, and engagement can come from negativity or positivity. So I'm going to tell y'all, we actually built it out already. We're actually just working on the UI right now, the user engagement. But this is exciting because I was just really thinking through this, and I'm like, yo, this is my problem. This is every creator problem. This is every leader problem. World building, nation building. But how do we digitize nation building? That's what we're solving for. How do we create our own Zion outside of the matrix? Because right now we're in the matrix, but we don't have this space. So the interface is the user engagement, like the way you use a platform. Like social media is easy to use, like ChatGPT. It has the best user interface, meaning that as soon as you get on there, it's very easy to utilize it. You know exactly what to do. People of all intellect can use it. And this is why it's probably the #1 most popular. Not that it's actually the best AI, but it's the most user-friendly. But I'm solving for the future, right? Giving you control over your reach. So if you get 100,000 people inside your nation or your club or your community, then you should be able to reach those people. You should not have to fight to reach those people. Or those people should be able to decide whether they want to see all your posts or not. Do they want moderate engagement that is only inside this membership, or do they want to engage with the world's? And going further into that, it's not a decentralized or centralized, right? It's interconnected network, because decentralized, I feel like, is not intentional enough as well, right? But when it's this interconnected network, that means that, just imagine this: every church in the world has their own church, right? They have their own congregation. But the church itself, in some ways, is decentralized in the sense that they're not all interconnected. What is central is like Jesus. So there's a central figure in all churches, which is Jesus. But the churches themselves are all over the U.S., hundreds of thousands of them. But they don't share resources, right? They're not sharing common goals, right? So therefore, they're not acting right in one accord. Now, imagine if all of those churches were registered, which they are with the government, but they communicated with each other, and they was able to bring all those people together, right, inside their club, but connected to all the other ones. You would also have data to where you would find that they're able to share information with each other and understanding problems that each church is having with their members. And if one person is doing something well, then they can share that thing that they're doing with the next church so that they can increase the impact that they're having on their people and also the community engagement that they're having, right? Because if one church has the best platform for, decreasing violence and job program and, job creation, right? While the other church is getting in money, but you're not seeing impact on the people in there, right? Like, there's no web of connection. There's no way to call all churches together to be like, yo, let's have a, come together Jesus revolution. But that has been done on purpose. All of these churches are like many nations with different flags. And a lot of the pastors don't get along, and that doesn't make sense. But then there's 1,000 different interpretations of the Bible itself. Why is there not just one huge Bible university where all people of different faiths under Jesus can come together? Because the common factor denominator is Jesus, not church. Not being Christian, but following Jesus. So I just look at that as not only that, I see creators. Every creator got a school. You understand me? And it's like, okay. The problem with that is that, again, we're overspending because we're not giving each other the resources and the permission. Case in point, we've created a world where everybody has to buy their own individual thing, right? I got it. One neighbor buys a lawnmower. He doesn't share with the next neighbor. So now the next neighbor has to consume more, right? Instead of there being a community lawnmower that they all have access to, right? Or there being a community landscaper that everybody is paying into a bill for, which decreases the cost, which increases the wealth of that household because it decreases the spending. And so there becomes a sharing economy. But what happens when you fragment people, I don't know my neighbor, so therefore I don't borrow things from my neighbor. A lot of you all may not grew up in a time where we would borrow things from our neighbors, right? Sugar was always the biggest common thing. Well, we didn't have something, we didn't always go to the store, we went to our neighbor. So therefore we no longer have neighbor networks. So without these neighbor networks, it forces more consumption on the individual, and everybody is talking about what they have. And then they're looking at their neighbor in comparison what the neighbor doesn't have. So this happens when one person in a community wins the lottery and become rich, everybody else in that community actually decreases in wealth. Why? Because they're now trying to keep up with the rich neighbor. Because they know that neighbor's not going to share resources. No, so now they want to shop where that neighbor shops. So now we're basically online watching our rich neighbors, trying to keep up with them, but cannot afford it. We're listening to music from our rich neighbors saying where they go eat food at, right? Where they go vacation at, right? The things that they dislike, and now you're trying to keep up with them. There's just a world of trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's making everybody poor because we're over-consuming and we're under-sharing. So the platform is built in a way to where you can share resources. There's 1,000 people that I know do media, but we're not sharing editors. We're not sharing, you understand me, guides and templates and formats. So now each person has to have their own separate budget instead of sharing with each other. And then it becomes a competition within your own community instead of competing with outside communities. The working class is competing with the working class, right? Which is Main Street competing with Main Street instead of Main Street competing with Wall Street. So if we're going to be utilizing these platforms should solve that problem. And here's the most important thing. I think we can decentralize ownership of the platform to the people, so there's not a concern of who owns the platform, right? Because another thing is that there is no freedom if we do not own. And that's just point blank period. So many people will tell you to follow one thing and they will demonize the other thing. So some people hate socialism, some people hate communism, some people hate Marxism, some people hate capitalism, And the reality of it is that they're all flawed in some capacity, which is why we can debate back and forth, because there is no utopian philosophy or an idea of the world. The reality of it is that in order to create a world that is this complex, you have to find the diagnosis that works for those people in that time in that region. And the more complex something becomes, the more it actually has to change, because you can't keep it stagnant in a changing world. It has to be allostatic, meaning that as it changes, right, then it might have to become more capitalistic or more social or more commune, right, or more Marxist, right? So it has to be a hybrid of what is ready, because in reality, that is how the world works. The world works in cycles. Your body changes throughout the day. It doesn't stay the same. If your body had one philosophy throughout the day, you just had, you know what, I'm just going to be sleepy all day. So your body is secreting melatonin when that should be happening at the later part of the day when the sun is going down. You'll be sleepy all day with no energy. Or your body has energy all day long. You understand me? And now you can't get no sleep, right? And now you're going to die earlier. No, your body goes through changes just as you go through from one state to another, because we are now able to travel faster. So you understand me? Your circadian rhythm switches over. So your body is secreting different chemicals at different points in time in the day and as you're moving, so that it is keeping up with the pace of change. And so as a people, as a nation, as a society, you have to be able to keep up with the pace of change. Your body does. Your business has to. The philosophies of the people, the nation has to. Otherwise, you get stagnation, you get ignorance. So, make sure you follow, right? And this is what you do for now. We're going to be dropping the beta prototype in my community. So you just click to be in my community on my Instagram page right here. It's going to be really easy. We go drop it. And I'm going to keep sharing these ideas. I'm working with some benefactors and some investors in this, and anybody that wants to be involved in this, because I have to create the digital nation for our people. Otherwise, where I see things going is that when they want to take you off air because they don't like something you say, when they want to destroy your algorithm, right, because they don't like a certain word you use. TikTok is about to come under the U.S. oligarchy. What do you think that meant? You got to download a separate app? You think you're going to have more freedoms? Even if you're making money, you're going to hate your life. Because what I'm seeing on TikTok is it created jobs for Amazon, for these platforms. But it's dumbed down these kids. It's dumbed down the whole population of people. And now there's no joy. TikTok used to be this platform people really enjoyed themselves. Now it's a platform everybody's just trying to sell you something. Right? So now everybody's depressed, everybody is stressed out, everybody is consistently uneased. People don't read anymore, people don't think anymore. There's less engagement, there's less intimacy. You understand me? That's happening daily. And now we're giving our authority over to algorithms and machines to try to help us dictate how to live a better life. I'd rather not be there. I would rather have, in the movie Matrix, you had Zion, then you had the Matrix. Neo had clarity. He started off with not a lot of clarity in the movie, right? He had to go down and develop higher consciousness. He met Morpheus. He took the blue pill. You understand me? Or the red pill, rather. And then he was able to start down and getting these downloads that allowed him, when he went back into the Matrix, you understand me, to have control over his own mind, right? Then, when he really went to enjoy himself is when he was in Zion. You understand me? When he went to Zion, that's when he was having fun. That's when he had a real community. That's when he was spending time with his love. In the Matrix, him and his girl was building, but they was always fighting. It was always stressful. It was life or death all the time. It was a consistent state of unease. He worried about her, she worried about him, but he had to go in there and get information. He had to talk to the agents. You understand me? He had to fight agents. He had to overcome them. Then he go back in Zion. Then what happened is eventually he started attacking Zion. So then he had to have the power to control Zion as well. And eventually, the story is really a love story in itself as well. A love story between man and woman. You understand me? Because that's when he was able to become a god, because he was able to care about something higher than himself, a state of egolessness. And so if you don't build the Zion, but we already have the matrix, you understand me? Then even if you're gaining power in this matrix, you'll never have freedom. You'll never have true joy. And so the goal is to build Zion. That's what people want more than anything. You can teach people how to build money and how to build wealth and all those things. But wealth is an interesting concept within itself, because find me the man that has family, that love him. Find me the woman that has a family that loves her, the community that they're engaging in, right? They're well fed, they're able to travel. Maybe they can't do everything that they want to do at all times, but they have their own land, right? They're eating healthy, they feel good on a daily, right? And they're able to contribute to something. Here's the central problem, and I'll end on this. The central problem is this. When you become a leader in a community that is fragmented, right? And most of the people are impoverished and poor, you can't truly be celebrated or appreciated, because instead of you playing your part inside a nation, people want you to build the entire nation. And so anytime you make accomplishment, it's not enough, because you haven't done everything, right? So the reason why black people and brown people do not get the same level of appreciation within a community when they do a lot of work is because their nation is not built out. See, if I'm Asian and I become a scientist, or if I'm Asian and I become a thought leader, then being a thought leader in a nation is enough, because you're contributing to the intellect of the people. You're playing your part, right? Somebody else is going to be the banker, right? Somebody else is going to build the nation. Somebody else is going to handle the politics. Somebody else is going to teach the children. Somebody is going to do their part. You're playing a role within a nation. The problem is that when you see one person rising, you're saying, okay, you're talking, but why you're not doing this? Why you're not doing that? Why you ain't built the hospital? Why you ain't built the farm? Why you ain't also built the army? Why you ain't built the library? And it's like, damn. So I don't get to just play a role in the nation. I have to be everything in the nation. So black leaders typically don't get appreciated. It's because we don't have a nation. It's that simple. When you play a role in a nation, people appreciate the role that you play. And so this is why this conundrum of the more you do, right? People are expecting you to do more. And with that expectation, it decreases appreciation and gratitude. And it burns out the person that is doing, because they're not getting credit for their contribution, because they're constantly being told that what they're doing is not enough. This is a very dangerous place. This is why, as we building out the nation, it's about what you're contributing, not about you being the whole. That's what it's about. So I hear it all the time, because anytime I do something, people are like, but you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I'm like, wow, how much time do you think it is in a day? How much infinite wealth do you think I have? Like, I appreciate y'all, but I'm not this infinite wealthy person y'all be thinking I am. I am a God. You understand me? And I do have profound ability, but I do work with the constructs of budget, time, resources, access. You understand me? And as I'm working with others, we deal with this thing of you're constantly in a necessity to prove yourself, and people are trying to make you feel like you're not enough. Keys, do this. And I'm like, haven't I done enough to prove already? And so what we find in a nation that's built out, in a society that's built out, is they'll give people opportunity. Charlie Kirk is a perfect example. They found him in high school. At college. First year, he was a dropout. Right? They gave him $4.8 million to get started. No proof. Right? He didn't create a large platform to reach millions of people first. You understand me? He didn't impact millions of lives first. He was just charismatic. And they felt like, he'll be passionate enough to go on this journey to do this thing. He got mentorship and he got sponsorship. Then he went on to have great impact in the world because he was well resourced in finance. And so instead, we get the opposite. That is almost never enough. And we get blamed for the failure of everyone in the community, right? But we don't get credit for the success. So what I mean by that is that, you mind rolling up the window? Sir, you mind rolling up the window? Thank you. So what I mean by that is, one person fails, they raise money, they fail, and then the person is like, but I don't know if I can support you because, man, we took that last L and they failed, and now I think you go fail. And it's like, okay, but that brother over here, he succeeded. I know a brother that made $1 billion. I know brothers that made millions. And it's like, okay, how come I don't also get credit or get association with the success in the culture? How come we only get associated with failure? Right? So when one person fails, it becomes a trauma that is associated with every individual in the collective. And it's like, bro, you know how much failure happens in every community? Do you imagine a white man saying that, oh man, I can't support you because there was this other white dude that failed at trying something. So now I'm traumatized. And it's like, what? You know how many white people fail at starting companies, businesses? Matter of fact, they get bailed out by their own government. All day long. Imagine that, an Asian man said, I can't support you. There was this other Asian fellow who tried something and it didn't work, so now I'm traumatized about supporting other Asians.
In a half-mile, take right, exit 35 onto December.
That doesn't make any sense. So we can't point to the successful ones and say, look, there's somebody that's successful, I can be like them. But we get blamed when somebody fails because we think that you're going to be like them. So this is another problem again. And so in the nation, it's normal. Failure is normal. You understand me? In individualism, we get blamed for every individual, and somehow we get associated with the failure of others. Or we're acting like people that's not have the ability to learn. Failure is not an end-all be-all. It's called life. You would never have an opportunity, or you should not be given one, if failure was a reason for not allowing people to advance. So there's philosophies that have to change, and there's mindsets that have to change, and we don't realize that we promote our failures so much that we associate each other with them. We don't promote the success. I know a brother I met from the UK, man. He I met him over in BestFest, and I've been following him before because he had this video where he closed a deal, $1 billion deal. When I met him in person, he said, Keys, you know the crazy thing is that was my second billion. I'm like, well, hey, brother, I want to be a part of the third. You know, great leaders and successful people, they associate themselves with people's success, right? Not their failures. They get inspired by it, right? And so here we are in day and age, and I'm gonna tell you, we make it so hard for people to want to continue to fight for us when we don't fight for them. Luckily, I have a disproportionate amount of passion and audacity and optimism about life, and I have a whole lot of it. And so I have to make sure that what's in my heart, what God puts on my heart, you understand me, is to be completed and not let the world destroy that, because it has not caught up with that compassion. It's not caught up with that optimism. I have to believe in the future, you understand me, that I'm producing from my imagination, not the one the world is trying to put in my mind, right? So that's why I find nation building to be important. It's monumentally important. So listen, if you want to become a sponsor for our New York show, my brother Ryan Leslie, we're going to have some special guests there. You want to pull up, come there, let's nation build. That's what this is all about. I can't be concerned with the whole world. In Zion, there's only 144,000. I think that's a sweet number to build with. I can't be concerned with the whole world Because when I go in there and I say something that I think is a rational thought, and people want to argue with me to death, I realize how messed up the consciousness of our people is. Malcolm did not have to deal with the same type of consciousness today. The way that he would see y'all in love with Donald Trump, some of you all, not the people here most likely, in love with Christian nationalism, he would throw up. I mean, like, and these are the same people that would say, man, I love Malcolm. And he would look at you with probably with such disgust, like, look at this nigga. And trying to explain to you that that man that you've made your master, that you've put on this totem pole, how they're selling you Bibles and using Jesus as a way to keep you their slave. He was never about having white masters. He was never about that. And see, a white man is not about having a black master. So when I say that, you should not have a problem, because they know for a fact, unanimously, they do not want a black man leading them. That was the whole fight. They don't even want a black man flying their plane. Yet we don't mind being led by another people. You think the Jewish community gonna let another people lead them? You think the Asian people will let somebody else lead them? That is dignity in yourself, no matter what you believe, no matter who you are on this planet Earth, no matter if you love all people and all this other crap, you go one community, one nation, one country on this planet Earth. They're fighting right now because they don't even want you next to them. You are supposed to be leading yourself. And yourself means a reflection of those who share the same values, ethnic backgrounds. That's how you get the respect from those across the planet Earth. So we gonna nation build. I need everybody to do me a favor now at this part of this live. Before I reach my destination, I need you to comment tour, and I need you to get the ticket, and I need you to get your pre-sale right now. I'm going to the cities that have the most tickets and that have the most RSVPs. Nation building right now is more important than everything. It's more important than everything. Because the future, you understand me, will be determined by the will of the communities. And I think that we can build these micro nations, and eventually these nations can actually be recognized as real sovereign entities. And then these nations can have physical presence on this planet Earth. Now we are dropping. The keyism is the philosophy within a nation, but we are dropping an episode. And within that episode, it's going to be, we're building out the mechanism. Reason why it was supposed to drop yesterday, but I told them to postpone it because I want to make sure that we are able to register people within this nation to get land, right? The elder generation are concerned that the younger generation don't want to work the land. And if y'all don't want to work the land, they have nobody to pass it down to. And if they can't pass it down to nobody, where does it go? Now, it might go back to the courts, and land that had been in somebody's family for 70 years, 100 years, now transferred over to another people because they bought it at a tax auction.
Just ahead, drop off keys on the right.
So, there needs to be a transfer from the elders to the youth. And land, you cannot nation build without land. So yes, we're building on digital land first, but the goal is physical land. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, man. Y'all stay tapped in. Let's continue the nation build. And as always, save yourself.
It's okay.